inevitably going to be, no matter what you do, is going to be a source of controversy given the multiple waters that are involved. Before I go further, though, I'd like to say that I was pleased to see the President slight increase, $3 million for the Chesapeake Bay. If ever there was an indication that this, one of the great wonders, it touches 7 or 8 states, needs our federal support, it's the presence of intersex fish in the Chesapeake Bay. I also want to indicate my strong support for your work on brownfields. That's really going to aid parts of our communities where expansion and redevelopment is absolutely dependent upon doing something about what can often be prime land. And we had such prime land here in the District of Columbia at the southeast waterfront. The Navy Yard had contaminated that land. It was cleaned up, and it's going to be a revenue-producing site here, and that is exactly what's going to happen as you continue your brownfield work. Let me ask, because this question about the waters of the U.S. keeps coming up, and I assure you will keep coming up no matter what you do. Mr. Kaposis, the opponents have, of course, proposed yet a new proposal. In essence, it would be another round of public comment and rulemaking. It would, in essence, say start all over again. And so I'm trying to see how we can get to the bottom of this, reach some conclusion. If you were to start all over again, actually, it wouldn't be the second time, it would be the third time, because the agency has also looked at clarifying the Clean Water Act. The draft Clean Water Act of 2011, as I understand it, was never finalized. So if we look at the number of years you've been at work, it's close to 4 years. And I must say, a very impressive number of comments, 1 million comments. Not to mention all the public comments, not to mention all of the stakeholders that you have had contact with. So I'm trying to see whether what we're looking at is another bite of the same apple, or just throwing the apple out, if the opponents really just don't want the apple to be part of what you do, because if it wasn't there, I'm not sure what you would do. So I have to ask you, what has been your consultation with the states, and for that matter with the Congress, and what specifically would be gained by stopping you, blocking you, as it were, from finalizing the current proposed rule and, in essence, saying start all over again? How would you then proceed? What would be gained by that?
Well, thank you, Ms. Norton, for that question. I think in summary what would be gained is that there would be a delay in clarifying the jurisdiction of the Clean Water Act, a subject which people have been asking our agency to do is to clarify the jurisdiction of the Clean Water Act, going as far back as when the Supreme Court case came out, the Swank case in 2001, and then the more complicated case that came out in 2006, the Rapanos case. The agencies responded, as you correctly said. We responded with guidance in 2003 to respond to Swank. We responded with guidance in 2008. Those were both part of a public process. And then we proposed guidance again in 2011, which was never finalized, but was again part of a public process. And throughout this process, what we've heard from all interested parties, regardless of whether they support the Clean Water Act or do not support the Clean Water Act, is that the agency should do a rulemaking. And we believe that it is our obligation to fulfill those requests and do this rulemaking. Further, issuing another rule for proposal would simply delay the ultimate resolution of
would it be redundant to what you have done?
Well, I can't say that it would be, well, what I would say is that I don't know what value would be added other than the addition of time. We have, as I said, done extensive conversations in person with over 400 meetings with the public.
Would that include the states and state representatives, the states themselves who would be affected?
We met with the states extensively. As I said, our last meeting with the states to discuss issues ended early because there was nothing left for us to discuss. We also engaged our local government advisory committee and held meetings around the country, bringing in local government officials from cities and counties. We held meetings in St. Paul, Minnesota, Atlanta, Georgia, Tacoma, Washington, and Worcester, Massachusetts. There we had representatives from Florida, Minnesota, Missouri, Maine, Wisconsin, Montana, Michigan, Texas, Utah, Idaho, New York, Arizona, and Washington. And so we worked with our communities. That's our local government advisory committee. They went out to these other cities. They brought in local officials from those regions to further discuss this rule. And we believe that we have received the input. Quite candidly, I will tell you there is not a lot of new in the way of issues that are being raised. Many of the issues that are being raised are the same ones that have been raised for several years.
I just want to clarify and have you to get your view on one question, lest people think that once your final rule comes out, they've lost all hope, particularly here in the Congress, of doing anything about it. Doesn't Congress have the authority under the the Congressional Review Act and the appropriations process to continue to express its dissatisfaction in any way it sees fit with whatever final rule you come forward with?
Yes, clearly Congress has that authority.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, if you would relay a meeting